Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Saturday evening on this cold, wintry November evening. This is a new episode of the Right Info Podcast Show with your host, King Twan. Tonight, I'm going to discuss globalization's impact on higher education. Now, globalization drives higher education, and higher education is driven by globalization. One or the other drives one or the other. The phenomenon of increasing worldwide interconnectedness, combining changes at three levels: economic, cultural, and racial and social changes. Though higher education workers are trained to become more skilled to contribute to research, make innovations, therefore increasing the competition in the knowledge-based global economy. Now, the effects of globalization have been far-reaching. Around the world, transformation is taking place everywhere, drastically, in all sectors. In higher education, globalization covers international and collaborates between tracking and research. Networking is purposeful, specific, and generic and global recruitment. My apologies. I just got through having a little dinner, so that's why I'm just now in between finishing eating and doing this podcast, if you all excuse me. Now, back to what I was saying. Now, specific and generic and global creation of teaching staff and students. The mobility of students and faculty do cross borders at times when it comes to globalization. Now, in the early days of learning, it was nearly the same in schools worldwide. Students sat listening to the teacher, taking the notes and doing their tests and exercises. Education today has gone beyond the confines of a classroom. This not only happens just in the world, but it happens here, in Chicago, that sort of thing. Generation Wi-Fi was born. Now, what is Generation Wi-Fi? You have your Generation X, your baby boomer, your Generation Z. Now, Generation Wi-Fiers, these are the younger generation that's brought up using technology like social media, Wi-Fi, iPads, iPhones, and iPods, even though we don't use iPods no more. iPods are like so slow, so old, like old little radios and that sort of thing. Now, in the world, the need of having for education systems become online learners, as educators has no choice but to adopt to online learning. The disdain for online learning diminished sharply. This left teachers with little or no time to debate. While some were more than competent than others, it became mandatory for teachers to learn to operate the tools. Operate iPads, iPhones, computers, and all that stuff. Because most students right nowadays, they sit around in the classroom on their phones, not even paying attention to the teacher, what the teacher is saying, what he or she are talking about. Just sitting around hoping to get a good grade by passing by. Instead of focusing on that assignment or that class, they're in their phones or their iPads, chatting with their friends, chatting with their loved ones, gossiping, running their mouths or whatever, whatnot. They even know they're supposed to be in class doing what they're supposed to do. Now, with globalization of education, teaching methods are now interrelated and ubiquitous. As access to schools intensifies, students are becoming prepared for multitudinal roles. This can also help students with more of a holistic understanding of giving them the idea of how the global business seems to work. In most cases, the greatest impact on the development of a student is their capability to survive in this challenging environment, which might become for many of them in the new university, workplace, or the new city, wherever they live, wherever they wherever they go, and that sort of thing. So this new technology with globalization playing a role in it is not only national, but it's become international. It stretches worldwide. Students are learning and now teachers are learning. And I myself, as a podcast host, I've learned some things, even though I knew some stuff already, but it doesn't hurt to learn new things. It's never too late in life to learn new things, no matter what they are. So as I was saying, this is a nice, cold November Saturday evening. I'm just sitting back, just got to having a little meal, as y'all see the way I'm talking. But the meal was good. It was pretty good. And globalization, is part of our lives. It's part of the world. It's part of our system. It's always been part of our system. And we either get with the times or get left behind with the times. When globalization just keep on going, everybody's doing what they doing, being new techies and new, um, just working on computers or whatever, knowing computers, knowing the new technological advancements that's going on in the world nowadays. I myself, I love technology myself, but I try not to get too wound up to it because I'm kind of old school in a sense too. Kind of like going to the library, for example. Even though I'll go online and find things, I still like to go to the library, go through the books. I noticed a term that everybody hasn't heard in a long time called the Dewey Decimal System. Now, we all know how old that is. Not to get off subject of what I'm talking about, but I'm just comparing the past of what we all did when we were younger compared to this new generation of what they are doing now. And globalization plays a big role in the past and the present, and it makes a big impact on the future. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to sit here and give you all a nice little talk about globalization and its role in education and its culture, and knowing that even though we are still in this young century, it doesn't hurt to learn. It doesn't hurt to go back. But you put two together, put both of them together, you might come out pretty good, a pretty decent, get a pretty good, decent idea on how things work. And I'm just saying, I'm saying, love globalization, accept it, embrace it. It may help you. It maybe not, but who knows? It's part of our lives now. It's part of the world. It's part of our um, lifestyle now. And, it's all good and said. And with that being said, this is the end of the Right Info podcast show with your host, King Twan. Just giving y'all a little info on something that you all need to know. You can find my podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, Facebook, Twitter, link it. And, I'm trying to expand a little bit more, but as time goes, it takes a little time, but it'll be fine. Just look me up on those platforms and get the information that you need to say and that you need to know. With that being said, I say good night, everyone. Have a good evening and enjoy your Saturday night. Bye-bye.